Oh, what? You've actually got a countdown? Oh,
We're live. That was my countdown. Did you like it?
I need more music.
I think it was a bit private for the 3 or 4 of us. Good evening, everyone. Welcome along. It's Thursday evening. If you hadn't realised what day of the week it was and you plan your calendar around ourselves. I'm Mike. Ian's on holiday this week, so I'm taking the main chair, and I'm joined by, well, probably the best looking 3 people in avocado property. Frankly,
I'm up with that.
You know, it is what it is.
You got the wrong people.
When's Dan coming on?
Don't give him a bigger ego.
Don't help him out. He doesn't need it.
Yeah,
this week we've got Neil.
Yo.
The aforementioned Dan and Neil. It's going to get harder as I start pointing at people now.
Go on.
Matthew, who works over in Wokingham specialist, and I've got it right every single time. Ellen, famous Ellen of Ellen and Sanjay, who cover the Bracknell area. For Avocado, I'm Mike, sat in the head office, the paper pusher, and here to ask the questions for the evening. We've got 4 topics tonight that we've nominated, but if anyone is watching and wants to throw any curveballs at these guys, then please feel free, jump on the comments. We'll throw them up and we'll see what any opinions come back and any help that we can provide people live. And obviously, if you're watching it back, pop it in the comments and we'll reply accordingly. But guys, first, before we go into the 4 topics, interest rates have gone up today. Again, we're now at 1%, and that is the highest interest rates have been for 13 years, believe it or not. And inflation is also the highest it's been since 1982. 82 is a vintage year because it's my year of birth. But other than that, I don't know what to take out of the fact that inflation is the highest it's been for 40 years. I was trying to add it up. I thought it was 29, but it's 40. Interest rates. What do we think? Is that going to slow the property market down? Or, as Matt and I were talking in the office, will that accelerate things short term because people are trying to get in before mortgage rates get pushed up and get some fixed rates going? What do we think?
Yeah, I think it's going to be similar to the stamp duty deadline, surely, in the way that people will just, like you say, want to rush to get something through. Panic buy, fire sale sort of thing. But it's only going to do one thing for the sellers, but I think we're still just going to be in that vicious cycle of not enough properties for the demand, which seems to be the ongoing theme at the minute, in my opinion.
I think those that will sort of proceed with caution for looking at are already doing that anyway. They're the people that are waiting for the market to crash, and
I've had that a few times recently where people are like, "I'm just going to wait until the property," and I'm like, you're going to be waiting a while for that to happen.
I've known people who have been waiting for 14 years for the market to crash.
Totally. But even if you look back at when we had the last recession, well, let's say the bigger one, that it was 2007, 2008 sort of time. Our areas sat within this little bubble anyway, didn't they? So you saw areas around you that were just to a degree collapsing. They weren't collapsing; they were just coming down to probably a sensible level for the time of year it was. Whereas now you look at it and you're like, I don't think they're massively going to drop. I mean, anybody that's expecting it to drop by, you look at Wokingham average house prices, it's £550,000 last year. It's not going to drop. They're not going to drop by 10%. You might get a slight level off, but we all know that if we haven't got property on the market, there's still going to be an abundance of buyers out there. The only time you're going to see a sudden drop in price is when you see 6 times, 7, 8 times as many properties on the market where you're competing against the rest. And I can't see that changing anytime soon either. So I think if you can get in whilst the rates are good, get in whilst the rates are good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's a thing to be said. If a house price drops by 20,000, but you're paying 2% more interest on it, you're probably paying a higher mortgage rate, even though you're buying cheaper.
Yeah.
Weirdly. Ellen, Bracknell is probably the best barometer for the housing market in the Thames Valley because there are a lot of the same thing. Lots and lots of 3-bedroom houses. And what happens in Bracknell tends to be reflected through Wokingham and the other market towns about 6 months behind. So what's happening in Bracknell that you can tell people who are watching from other areas?
Supply is still not enough. Demand is outstripping that so much. And we see it with every 3 beds between 350 and 400. That's the bread and butter in Bracknell. And nearly every buyer that registers with us will ask, is it going to go over asking price? Mm-hmm. Which we don't know, quite frankly, what someone can see as a lovely house is going to have, everything's got pluses and minuses, but people aren't expecting to be able to make offers, certainly not under the asking price at the moment. And that's just not showing any signs of changing. There's, we can't fit all the inquiries into an open house.
Yeah, I've got a long-term client who I'm doing an open house for tomorrow on a 1-bedroom garage flat in Birch Hill, and at least 3 of the people who are going have already asked me the question, can I offer before I go? And is it likely that I'm going to have to pay over the asking price? Were questions they asked me, unprompted, as almost their standard questions that they ask estate agents. Good evening.
I love that.
Spit on a keyboard. Let's get into the 4 topics that we all wanted to talk about. Ellen, this was yours, the main one. How do you make an offer successful or as attractive as possible?
Yeah, it's quite prevalent in the way that we are seeing the market. We fit, say, between 10 and 15 people into an open house, and that's not the amount of inquiries we get, and there invariably there's always multiple offers. We don't encourage bidding wars, we try and keep it on a very level playing field, but certainly I think there are things that buyers can be doing or do to make their offer stand out from the crowd. And I think the first thing is make sure you've done your research before you go and view the house. We'll be very upfront with people. If there's no parking, is that okay? There is no garage, let them know, by the way, the motorway's behind, things like that. And if your agent isn't being upfront with you about that before you book a viewing, find it out for yourself, because there is no luxury of time once you've had a look at the house to then go back and do your research. And then secondly, transparency with us as the agent. It's when an offer's made, I think sometimes it can feel like I want to know your inside leg measurement and your blood type. But when you're against multiple people, deposit levels, what have you done with mortgages? As much as you can give us, the better. And if it comes to it and we need you to speak to our broker just to sanity check, from my perspective, not a broker, he will do the offer qualification. Just be as open as you can. Often we're not trying to steal your business. If you've got another broker, that's fine, but it just helps us qualify things out. And then I think the third thing is, as great as it is that a lot of people are ready to move very quickly, we need the opposite most of the time. Patience, sellers have to find they're about to embark on the journey that someone described as a bloodbath of trying to buy a house at the moment. So be patient, I think that's key.
I think for me, you've just hit the nail on the head. Matching a buyer and a seller together, where they've got similar goals or similar timescales, is key. If your seller's going to struggle to find something, you have to have a patient buyer, not someone who's looking to move in the next 2 months, because it just ain't going to happen. Matt, what's your top tip for making your offer as attractive as possible to the agent and to the seller?
I think Ellen just covered most of them, to be fair to you. I don't think she's given us much left to work from. But so just take everything Ellen just told you and just use that.
Love that. What she said.
What she said. It's easier for me because she's out there. It's in truth, it's everything that Ellen just said. I think there's a lot of people out there that feel like we ask questions to almost pry on their financial circumstance, and for me, it's not that, and it's about being clear with them to make sure that they understand that. Because when you're asking deposit levels, have you spoken to a financial advisor, a mortgage advisor, have you done this, have you done that? It's not to know more than you need to. It's honestly just to be able to present your offer in the best way to the client. Because the more information that you can give to your seller that reassures them that they're the right buyer, the better. So it's as simple as just be open and honest with us, because as soon as you're open and honest with us, if I ask someone what deposit levels they've got and if they can show us proof of cash and proof of funds, because sometimes you get people that have got serious amounts of deposit in an account, and I understand the fact that they don't want to go around sharing that information too much with people, especially people they don't know, but that's important that we see it, because whilst you say that you've got £200,000 in cash and that's your deposit level you're putting down, it's very easy to say it, and if you can't prove it, then how good does that make your offer? Does it actually put you at the top of a list? So we're not asking.
Point to say, if you were the seller, would you expect that to be checked?
Oh yeah, totally.
If the roles were reversed.
Yeah, exactly that.
I think just on that, it comes down to being prepared at the same time. We always say to people, be prepared, because again, agents, not just us, but agents are going to ask you those questions. And if someone doesn't necessarily know the answer or wishy-washes around, is that the right term? Wishy-washes around the answer, you're going to delve a little bit deeper, and you're probably not necessarily, this sounds harsh, you're not going to trust them as much as someone that goes, this is a solicitor, this is my mortgage advisor, this is X, Y, and Z. And as Ellen said, whenever someone emails an offer, give us a bit of blurb about you. Dan and I always say the same. When you're emailing us with your offer, tell us about you. Tell us why you like the house, because that's going to be passed on to the seller at the same time. And we still have, and I do open houses and I jest with people every time. And I say, I still get people that will just email me a figure. And I ask for your mortgage information. If you've got a solicitor and a bit of blurb about you,
the more the merrier, right?
Merrier, exactly. Yeah. I'm going to put your offer forward to the seller. Yeah. Give me as much info, and generally, you still get people to just email you a figure.
We're dealing with the homeowners that are selling normally their family home or a property that they've invested time, blood, sweat, and tears into, and they honestly would much prefer it's being sold to someone that's going to enjoy it as much as they've enjoyed it. So you can present a little bit about yourself and the reasons why you like it, then your offer jumps up a peg or two.
You can absolutely win the emotional battle, can't you?
Totally,
in that sense, and show someone why you're connected to the house. If I say I really want to buy your house because I want to bring up my children here because I love the primary school and X, Y, and Z, then those people are going to think, do you know what? Those people are the right people for my house, the right people for my neighbours, and they will hold on for me whilst I look because they seem really connected to the house. Good point below, Susan. We do that. We absolutely do that. If you inquire for a viewing through us, you will get an email back automatically asking and pre-qualifying what your timescales are, what your deposit level is, what you're looking to do, why you're looking to do it, what streets you want to live in, that kind of thing, which automatically registers you. And as Ellen said, very shortly, in a very short way, she'd probably do 15 to 20 viewings on an open house, but that will probably be about 50% of the inquiries.
It's working out, who, and being upfront with buyers as well. You know, these people aren't looking to move until September, or this is the situation. Is that going to work for you?
Mm-hmm. I enjoy sieving through the buyer, working it out, because again, as Mike said a minute ago, you get people asking, will this go above asking price, or will I need to do this before they've even viewed the house? But then on the flip side of it, you still do get people that I had someone ask me what deal I'll do on this house. Sorry, sir. I can't.
It's not a market.
2 for 1.
I chuckled to myself. I was like, no deals around here. And that's not our choice, it's the market's choice. So you've got to understand that. And I genuinely I did say to him afterwards, and I think I mentioned it to someone, but I did say to him, you won't get a deal out there. And he put his tail between the legs and said, sorry, I'm in sales. And I just wanted to chance my arm and play my cards. And I was like, you're playing with the wrong people. It's not going to happen.
Susan's just suggested a job role that you've just said you really enjoy doing, Neil.
Oh, there we go.
Whilst my mouse has packed up and switched itself off, my mouse only works till 6. It's a bit part-time.
There we go.
There we go. Someone else has clicked on it for me.
There we go.
A sifting person.
Yeah, I don't mind. I've got 26 hours in the day. Come on.
I think that's what that person does is give you some time back. But that's to an extent that's what our pre-qualifying email does, and it does it really, really well from the lettings perspective as well. Is ask you when you're looking to move, what your income is, which then produces what your affordability is for the reference criteria and all those sorts of things. So it's a bit of AI. It doesn't replace the human touch to us recommending who's the best buyer for a property, but it certainly just speeds up the process and gives us the best people to call fastest.
Yeah. Just on that as well, Mike, one thing to note, if people didn't know how avocado property work, is you've only got one agent that deals with the buyer and the seller and that property, which I absolutely love. And I tell people this every time I meet with them. I get to meet the people that I speak to on the phone about their inquiry. I then show them around the house. I then get to put their offer forward. There's no middlemen getting involved where you can become biased towards one way or the other. So again, just noting that, yes, we sift them at the start or sift through and make sure they're qualified, but the director of the business is going to meet them in person and actually get a feel for them as a buyer at the same time there and then. So I think that goes a million miles with what we do, in my opinion.
Absolutely. Yeah. For me, it makes putting an offer forward much easier, because I will say, right, these are these people, this is what I thought of them, this is what I met them, this is their situation, this is my opinion, this is how much I trust them, as much as what their offer is and all the nuts and bolts with it. So we've heard from Ellen hyperlocally.
The dodgy point.
Yeah.
You're okay, mate.
Matt, as I say, Wokingham tends to run about 6 months behind Bracknell in trends. Where's Wokingham right now?
Solid in way of buyer activity. Certainly in way of properties coming onto the market. I'm noticing there's a little bit more coming on now. I tell you what I'm seeing the most of at the moment, which I think we're all cautious of in the areas that we cover. A lot of the other businesses, because there's not as much as they need to have on the market to cover their sort of KPIs on their monthly basis. There's an awful lot of overvaluing going at the moment. Awful lot of overvaluing, and that confuses people a lot. It confuses buyers, it confuses sellers, it confuses everybody, and it's very easy to get a figure wrong when you start marketing. As soon as you go, it's like making a first impression. When you turn up to go and meet someone, you got to have clean shoes or clean trainers or whatever. You make a first impression. It's the bit last, the bit that you see the first. Now it's the same principle when you put your property on the market to try and sell it. You've got to get that price absolutely spot on when you first put it on the market. I mean, I valued somewhere earlier on today. Nice house, needs a bit of work doing to it. She's heard £50,000 more than the stats show that it's actually worth to put it on the market. And you I actually said, if you feel that they can get you £50,000 more than I'm telling you based on what we're talking about at the moment, give them a go, but don't do it for anything longer than a couple of weeks, because all they'll do is they'll take it onto the market. They'll know what they're trying to do. They'll batter you down with feedback and price reduction letters and bits and pieces, and then you're suddenly back at the value where you were, having been on the market for 4 weeks. You've got such a short window to get the highest price, and it's like I say, it's like Google, isn't it? How many times do you go to the second or third page of Google?
Yeah, true.
No, you just don't. You say no one really does it on Rightmove either.
No.
So it's a similar principle. You don't really want to be coming off of that first page, and then to go back onto it, you need to make a significant price reduction. And everybody knows that when you look at a price reduction online, you go, "What's wrong with it?" Yeah. Exactly. And then you're in that slippery slope. So trying to get the price right is probably one of the hardest things, especially when you're hearing that your value is significantly less or a little bit less than some others, and you try and battle with it. But the market in Wokingham's great. I mean, the 4-bedroom market is where it's at the moment, in truth. It's everybody wants something between 650 and 800. They're all going from their 3 bedrooms up to their 4 bedroom houses with a little bit of extra space. And in truth, that's the market that's the hottest at the moment in Wokingham.
Interesting. I'm gonna introduce something that customers, buyers, sellers, a word that they might not be aware of, which is downvaluing on the basis of overvaluing. Everyone knows what an overvaluation is, when someone puts more money on it than it's worth. Down valuations, I'm starting to hear that they're happening here, there, and everywhere. Had a conversation with you, Matt, earlier. Heard about a down valuation. I also have seen a house come on the market in a street where I have a little dream of living for £1.2 million, and I know for a fact nothing has ever sold in this street for more than £1 million. I haven't got £1 million, and so I'm a few years away from this street. And at 1.2, I'm a lot of years away from this street. On the basis, nothing has ever sold in this specific road that I'm not going to mention for more than £1 million, and an agent has put a bog standard house on the market for 1.2. If, as a buyer, I'm ignorant enough to go and buy that house for £1.2 million and need a mortgage, the mortgage company will send a surveyor on their behalf to check out my purchase. And they'll spend half an hour in the house poking around, having a look around, and then look at the comparable evidence, which means looking at what else is sold in that road or that area. They'll then go back to their client, which is the bank, not me, to make their recommendations and say, we ain't lending that much on that, son. In a more eloquent way.
I don't know.
With lots more cases. I don't know where that came from. I'm sure surveyors aren't cockneys. But the point is, estate agents are somehow putting 20% on top of anything that's ever sold in that street. They must know full well that a mortgage surveyor is going to go around there and tear it up. And it's going to end in that property being renegotiated or falling through and then having to resell, or they're hoping to get lucky with very, very wealthy cash buyers who aren't going to have that kind of protection from a bank turning around and going, hold off, that's the wrong price. Is that happening more and more, or is that just something I'm seeing?
I've had a few in the last 6 months, I would say, not loads, and credit to the clients, as in the buyers, they've always fought back on them. I had one person change the lender, and he was like, I'm happy with the value I'm paying, let's try another lender, and the lender came back okay. I've had one where we gave them multiple comparables to say this is the value, and they'd still downvalued it, even though we'd sold 1 million of like similar properties, a handful of them. So I was going to say there as well, it's messing with the emotion of the client at the same time. If people are getting this wrong, not only are you messing up the value and you're overvaluing to win the business, but it's messing with people's emotions and where they go from there at the same time, which was what I was going to mention when Matt was talking. But yeah, it happens day in, day out. But not everyone listens, unfortunately.
Allegedly, 1 in 30, I'm being told on the comments, is downvalued at the moment. I wonder if that's increasing or if that's relatively stable. Just based on, as I say, I'm seeing things being put on the market so far over what anything has ever sold for in a development that I'm left slightly confused to where people pulled those numbers from.
I think there's 2 ways of looking at down valuations. You've got the down valuations that I think we are all experiencing, where banks and lenders can't keep up. They're working off land registry data that's
absolutely
8 months ago, and we're having to fight back and go, well, here's the ones that we've sold and exchanged them in the past 6 months that do add up, that do value it up, versus people just been given the wrong advice from day one. And you think about it, this house at 1.2, that's probably worth £1 million, £1.05 million. It loses them 200 grand in the grand scheme of things, because in their mind, they've got their next house that they're going to move to. And when it, transpires that isn't feasible, then all of a sudden their house isn't going to work. It's a waste of time, and it's a drain on people's mental health, I think.
Yeah. That's a Sanjay or Dan Salisbury rant waiting to happen.
There's a challenge there. Sanjay, I know you're watching. You're in the background. Come on, let's be having you. Last topic of the evening. We're bang on time, of course we are. Has the government actually profited from the stamp duty holiday? Everyone thought the government, that beautiful government that they are, you know, Richie, the man of the people, multi-billionaire, non-UK resident, was doing everyone a favour by cancelling stamp duty for the period through COVID. However, I saw an article today which said somewhere in the region of 4 million properties in the UK have now jumped from one stamp duty amount into the next bracket. So receipts are going to be up this year wildly, just record upon record upon record of stamp duty receipts. So did we all get lured into a trap? What do we think?
I think the stats would prove yes, wouldn't they?
Yeah,
the stats would prove yes. I mean, it had a. One of the primary reasons they did it was they needed to have an influx of cash whilst COVID was kicking off, didn't they? They wanted to find a way in which they could get the economy going and trades going around that to be able to deliver cash into the bank. That was the primary reason they told us. Well, it was the obvious thing to do. But if you look back at it now, as you've done, Mike, and you go, which I hadn't really thought of until we had that conversation earlier on today, you look back at that and go, actually, yeah, they probably have. Because, I mean, someone's got to be very astute and made that commercial decision 18 months ago, 2 years ago, whenever it kicked in, to go, this is what's going to happen. But they probably are. Because you look at the amount of transactions that are going through, maybe not as much as there was last year, but you look at the stamp duty percentages that are going from 1 to 3, 3 to whatever, and whatever to whatever. There's a big cost change there. They're making a lot more money.
Sorry, I'm distracted.
We've all been distracted. I'm afraid. Well played.
Sorry, Matt.
I presume there's a punchline.
I didn't see that until it literally just pinged up. So everyone just went quiet.
It was just towards the end of what you were talking about. The three of us just went.
Is Sanjay doing his jokes again? He knows this.
You must know this.
3. I'll give you a 3.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. Yeah.
I have to deal with this every day.
That is absolutely awful.
He's even drinking again. It's gone past it.
That is awful. It's been a long day.
It's 12 o'clock somewhere, yeah.
It's been a long day in Bracknell, clearly.
Now,
I don't know what to say about that. Should we just end it on
that bad joke? Everybody's clicked off already. They've just seen that joke and thought, no. Mic drop. There you go. Oh.
So, yeah, wrapping up, really. Bracknell, nowhere near enough demand, nowhere near enough supply to cover the demand that's covering the market. Wokingham, there's a few cases of overvaluing happening at the higher end and the middle end of the market in order for agents to keep their books full. I think that's fair to say. Shinfield, I've seen a record breaker in Shinfield on that one. It was pointed out to me by your esteemed business partner, Neil. I'm not going to point out the particular property. I think that'd be a bit rude, but we've seen a record-breaking price on properties for sale in Shinfield this week. So I presume that's the same case there. The government have made massive money out of apparently giving us some free tax. Someone modelled that perfectly. Well done to them. They pulled us all in and have profited on the way out. Well played. And if you want to make your offer as attractive as possible to the person selling your house, is give all the information, put it in writing, get all the paperwork, be open as possible, and connect with someone on an emotional level.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Those is the facts for Thursday, the 5th of May. Thanks, everybody, for watching. We're ticking down into half an hour perfectly. I'm off my dinner.
We're good.
Guys, thanks for joining us.
Peace and love, people.
Peace and love. See you later on.
Till next time. See ya.
Bye.